Music from the wrong side of the tracks. This is a show that drags you through the gritty alleys of sleaze rock, gutter glam, and all forms of dirty rock and roll. We're here to crank up the volume and dive deep into the dirtiest, sleaziest, most glamorous rock and roll out there. Whether it's the classics or the underground hits, we've got you covered. And now, here are your hosts, Andy and Gary.
Hey, welcome to episode number 6 of the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. My name is Gary, and I'm here with the co-founder of the podcast and my co-host, Andy. Andy, who are we going to cover today?
Today we're going to discuss the Trash Brats out of Detroit, Michigan.
The Trash Brats.
The Trash Brats were a glam punk band from Detroit. They were formed in 1987 by childhood friends Ricky Rat, which is I'm sure his real name, and vocalist Brian Oblivion. Later, the band would be rounded out by bassist Tony Romeo, and like Spinal Tap, they went through about 5 drummers at least.
Imploded. Gardening accident.
A bizarre gardening accident. The band's really known for their outlandish looks and their wild style. They like to wear a lot of women's lingerie. I don't know if it needs to be categorized as women's lingerie. Lingerie, big hair, makeup, heels, fishnets. They definitely had that androgynous look to them, but they weren't trying to look like women. You wouldn't confuse the Brats with a band like, say, Poison that had that more pretty boy androgynous look to them.
I guess one of their best and most notorious and long-standing fans, Brian T., last name omitted, said that they probably would have made it a lot bigger if it wasn't for their choice in clothing, to which Ricky Rat replied, people might look at pictures of the Trash Brats and say, well, it's not that crazy, or what's the big deal, but you always have to put it in context. Like, remember, we were often playing in front of a skinhead crowd who totally wants to kill us and then having to fight your way out of the club. So we know that our image did us in a lot, but the thing was, we didn't care because we liked being flashy. We liked being silly. We didn't take it all seriously. It was almost like we were doing a send-up of all these glam bands. We always noticed that all the hair metal bands were just jocks wearing lipstick. They still had a tough guy attitude or whatever, whether they wore makeup or not. But we were coming from a totally different place, more the New York Dolls, that campy vein. But of course, a lot of people didn't know that. They'd see the hair and makeup and say, oh, look at this Poison Motley Crue band. And I'd say, well, did you really listen to the music? Because it doesn't sound anything like that.
Their music is really like a combination of, say, punk rock, glam rock, but laced with power pop hooks. They definitely had some catchy songs. Really seem to know how to put a song together, have some nice melody and hooks in it.
Yeah, I think John Rutledge of New Wave magazine wrote that, first of all, the Trash Brats were glam when glam wasn't cool. These dudes were suffering and sweating and struggling and bleeding for the glory of rock and roll when their look and sound were still as uncool gets.
That would have been the time when everybody was wearing the Doc Martens and the flannel. Unless you were a skinhead, then that was different.
Yeah, kind of like a fish out of water, kind of. But their sonic hybrid has always been a straight-up blend of punk, hard rock, power pop, old-fashioned, dirty, back-alley rock and roll. It's equal parts Cheap Trick, Dead Boys, Dictators, and New York Dolls. But they would thunderous riffs to sticky sweet melodies, bubblegum hooks to bitchin' guitar solos, and anthemic choruses to gritty backstreets rhythms. So their live shows were legendary. Apparently, their records consistently rock, and their very existence exemplifies all that's fucking cool about that sleazy, sweet, trashed out rock and roll.
This seems like a good spot to listen to one of Gary's early favorite songs from the Trash Brats. This comes from their self-titled album, and this is the song S-M-U-T, Smut.
Words I need to say to authorities every day.
Andy, don't you have a story about them playing and opening up for Kid Rock?
Right. There's a video out there on YouTube that I highly recommend you look for. The band apparently were good friends with Kid Rock when he was first starting out as a rapper. And this was before he got super famous and leaned more into classic rock kind of feel. So he asked them to open up a show for him that was like 1,000+ people in the audience and probably 99% white boys with backward baseball hats.
Yo.
So the band comes on stage and their get-ups with the makeup and the lingerie and makeup and everything that these white guys are against, at least on a guy. They start playing and the audience reacts in a, let's just say, a negative way.
Slightly.
They're
projectiles.
Throwing shit at the band, spitting at them, cussing at them, flipping them off, threatening them.
Totally hostile crowd.
Yeah, really bad. And to the band's credit, they didn't give a fuck. They just fucking played their asses off.
Straight through.
Yeah, and it was like the angrier the crowd got, the better they played. It was just a pure moment of fuck you rock and roll attitude that is really seems to be missing from the world these days.
You guys can actually see this video for yourself if you search it out on YouTube. They play the entire set and they're just being bombarded from the moment they walk on stage. It's quite a testament to their tenacity that they actually stayed and finished the entire set.
And they actually got pretty confrontational with the audience too. They were like throwing drinks back at the audience, antagonizing them quite a bit, talking about wanting gay sex and things of that nature, just anything to rile the crowd up more.
Stirring the crowd up.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised things didn't get super violent.
Michael Hurd of the Detroit Metro Press wrote that the Trash Brats faced a brilliant problem right from the beginning and that they simply didn't care whether they fit in or not. They weren't quite metal, not quite punk, not quite glam, not quite pop, and yet a striking combination of all the above and then some. Apparently, their debut show at Detroit's legendary Bookies Punk Club is fondly remembered for its stage-bound bottle missiles, spits of disgust, confusion, and macho grunts of fuck you that would follow them throughout their 15-year career.
And the band claims that they loved being hated because one way or the other, they were getting feedback from the crowd. So love them or hate them, at least they were getting a reaction. And they said that was much better than just being considered okay and ignored.
Yeah, quite a powerhouse. They are still fondly remembered and considered legendary in the city of Detroit. They've been around for a long time. Their first self-titled album, Andy, tell me about what they first released. Weren't there a couple of self-released things before they got an actual album on a label?
I know they were on a compilation called Out of the Garage in 1986 when the band was still going just by the name Brat.
And didn't they release like a cassette, an exclusive cassette called like the Pink cassette or something like that was maybe self-released?
So their very first official release was a cassette called the Pink Tape, and self-funded, self-released, probably extremely hard to find if you can find a copy out there anywhere.
Anybody still have a working cassette player out there?
Right. Those are probably, there's like 2 of those left working and 1 8-track player left working, and that's at your house.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess the Brats' best known and or first self-titled album on an actual label, the label was I-94 Recordings and released in 1990. And a little backstory about this to go down a side road just for a second here. I remember it being the early 90s, and we had a local music magazine that had classified ads for musicians wanted in the back of it, kind of like, LA had the Recycler, and there's all these, stories about musicians that have hooked up through famous ads and whatever. So I answered a drummer wanted ad that had a couple of things that sounded okay to me. So I show up at this house. I don't know any of the people there, and I go in and we start talking. And this guy hands me an old school cassette cassette tape without a clamshell, and there's no writing on the tape whatsoever. There's no label. It's like a Maxell or whatever the going, tapes are back in the day. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing on it at all. And he said, we're thinking about doing some of these songs for covers. Take it home and tell me what you think. And I took it home and I played it, and a lot of it was, neither here nor there, but I fell in love with a couple of songs that were on the tape. And unfortunately, the band never came to anything. They were more in love with the idea of being in a band, actually, than putting in the hard work and rehearsal time to actually be in a band. It was more like a poser situation or whatever. So that never worked out. But these two songs on this cassette tape that I was given, I loved these songs and had no idea who the band was that was responsible for these songs. And for years, this is early 90s, I certainly didn't have a smartphone or internet capabilities or whatever was available out there, but it haunted me for the longest time that I did not know who this artist was of these two songs. Long story short, somehow, some way, I find out it's the Trash Brats, and they're from Detroit, and it's from this self-released album of theirs, and the two songs are Gas Boy and SMUT, Smut. I loved everything about these songs. I love the catchiness. I love the chorus. I love the hooks. I love the rawness. I like the guitar tone. I am a sucker for rollicking boogie-woogie piano in a track, and this had all this and more. Clever lyrical content, memorable, hooky right off the bat. So now that I knew who they are, I go to find it, and it's long since out of print. And I'm denied a second time. To make this unsufferable story a lot shorter, along comes the internet, along comes discussion boards, along come them finally re-releasing it and getting a CD release, and then the files sharing and everything. But that's how I fell in love with this band and found out who they were, because of my love of the song Gas Boy and SMUT. Also, because of my love of that song, Gas Boy, we're going to play a bit of that song for you right now. This is from their self-titled release on I-94 Recordings. This is Gas Boy by Trash Brats.
Long and gotta hold my nose. I hate to smell like gasoline. Ringing up maps, cigarettes, and pics till I stop to daydream. I trip to a land where there's no dipstick to that tires or gasoline. Working late nights at the station, fixing tires and doing chores. I wish I could take a vacation, but I'm stuck pumping gas and mopping floors. I'm just a gas boy. I'm just a gas boy. I fill it up, I check the oil. Now this ain't the life for me. All day I wait on cars, all night I play in bars. Someday I'll make it big, you'll see. The close point folks with the turned up noses may be rich, but they got no sense. You think their shit smells like a bed of roses, but they reek of arrogance. Always pointing fingers, always looking down on me when they come in. They order me around like a slave and the clown in the circus of petroleum. Working for peanuts at the station, struggling just to get by. Losing sleep and my concentration, pumping gas and making 335. I'm just a gas boy. I'm just a gas boy. The customer is always number one. I have to smile and say thank you, have a nice day, even if he's extremely rude and dumb.
On the self-titled album Trash Brats, there's a song called 3783 Marlborough Street. And it's apparently a somewhat autobiographical song about Brian and Ricky moving into a house with a junkie, their misadventures living with this particular person. But
in an interview, Ricky Rat says that that's about an old band house, and every word of that song is true. He says, we moved into this house with a friend of a friend because we were just out of high school and we needed somewhere to live and rehearse the band. We were just getting started, so me and Brian moved in there with this guy who turned out to be a junkie. Pretty eye-opening experience. Here we are, fresh out of high school, kids from the suburbs living with a junkie. People used to ask us about that song all the time. Well, that's not really true, is it? No, that's all true.
And I think they said that the guy was charging him $25 a week to live there. So they're like, oh, hell yeah, this is a deal.
Yeah, deal. Such a deal.
And apparently it came with some strings attached. Let's listen to a bit of the autobiographical song, 3783 Marlborough Street from the Trash Brats. So on the band's third album, titled The Joke's on You, this was released on Megalomania Records, and this was back in 1995, and includes the song Downtown Nowhere. And from the album The Joke's on You, here's the song Downtown Nowhere.
Go ahead, ask
I believe they had just a couple more in their tank before they never really faded away. They're still active to this day. Ricky Rat still has projects and has released solo stuff. Mm-hmm. Actually, a bit of a goofy tidbit is he just made available his most recent recording on 8-track tape. So there's that old Arcane reference again. Don't know how many people have a working 8-track player. You'd be surprised because nostalgia, like everything else, what goes around comes around. But so he's still active in the scene. And I believe after The Joke's on You, they had 2 more albums. One was a compilation. I'm getting ahead of myself. Out of the Closet was released in 1996 on a label called Circumstantial Records. I believe the Trash Brats had one more giant release, well, giant among fans anyways. And what was that, Andy?
The final album was titled American Disaster, and they released that back in 2001. And it's probably arguably their finest moment, really. Everything's there. They're firing on all cylinders. Production's better.
I believe, I might be mistaken on this, but I think that might be a compilation and kind of a greatest hits, or it doesn't say greatest hits, but I think it's a compilation from all their releases, and you get all the best stuff all in one swipe.
Yeah, and from that American Disaster album, here is the song Rocket to Heaven. So recently on Facebook, we found that apparently bassist Tony Romeo had recently lost his girlfriend to cancer. And turns out that Tony also has cancer. So there was a benefit plan for him that actually was taking place last night. And Ricky Rat Pack? Yes.
Say that 3 times fast.
Were some of the performers, as well as a lot of local bands there in Detroit.
Raising money for one of their own, you know. We all get older, things happen or whatever, but apparently this just happened very recently. So hopefully there were a great many people in attendance and did some good for him in the fundraising department.
Yeah, so one of his friends had set up a GoFundMe to help raise money to go towards his medical expenses.
Yeah, you people should search that out and contribute.
Yeah, and I checked it last night and they've met their goal. You know, good for everybody for chipping in there and helping this guy out.
Local Detroit legend. What are you going to do?
Trash Brats come out of Detroit, which is the promised land where the MC5 came from. Iggy and the Stooges, the Alice Cooper band, lived in Detroit for a while. It's just it's a tougher scene there. It's kind of like a combination of the East Coast, West Coast, where you have the toughness from the bands in New York, and you have the more flashy bands that came out of the LA scene. And I don't know, the Trash Brats are just all attitude, take no bullshit. You watch that video where they open for Kid Rock, and it's just impressive watching them perform, and no fucks given.
Take no prisoners attitude.
Yeah,
we are going to just play right through this, and you can't phase us, and we're on stage and you're not, so take that.
Yeah, and oh, you hate us? Okay, here, we're going to give you more reasons to hate us.
Hate us more.
Yeah, it's just, hats off to them. I mean, most bands couldn't have stood up to that.
Unfortunately, I don't think they ever made it out west. I never had an opportunity to see them live, and most of my enjoyment of that Trash Brats self-release comes from finally getting that CD into my hands, and it's been a favorite now. It's always in my playlists, and it's always going to be, and I thought it would be a perfect addition for this type of show. So.
And I never really heard of them until you told me about them several years ago, and recommended I go out and get some of the music that had been re-released, and definitely worth it. I recommend you go out and look for what you can find. Discogs has a lot of their earlier things out there available for you.
Spotify has at least 3 or 4 things, and it's worth searching out. Whether or not you hate or use Spotify remains to be seen, but they're out there if you want to find them.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, we thought this would be a great band that really fits in our wheelhouse. And I mean, to me, they're kind of like, when I think of glam punk, this is the type of band that I'm thinking of completely.
Yeah, well, give credit where credit's due. They were kind of forerunners. They, again, never really fit into the scene, nor did they really want to or whatever. But I'm always going to be sucker for a hook, a chorus, and a melody. And these guys had it in spade. They were self-deprecating. They didn't take themselves too seriously. They always put on a show. The crowds that they did attract loved who they were. They're beloved to this day, and they're legendary. So that's our episode on the band, the Trash Brats. And if you hung in with us for this length of time, we'd like to thank you for your strength and courage. What do you got to say, Andy?
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time. And don't forget, keep it trashy.
Keep it trashy.
And to our fallen comrade, Mr. Mink, I think Pink Floyd said it best. Wish you were here. You're here in spirit, brother.
Godspeed, Mink, wherever you may be.
You've been listening to the Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the dirty world of rock and roll. If you did, please consider subscribing and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us reach more listeners like you.
And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Rock and Roll Gutter Podcast for all the latest updates, news, and more.
Got questions, comments, or suggestions for future episodes? Reach out to us at rnrguttermail@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
So join us again next time for another wild ride through the raw and gritty side of rock and roll. So until then, keep it trashy.